Have you guys ever noticed how the Apostle Paul draws a parallel between athletic competition and the Christian life? In 1 Corinthians 9, he compares the race of the Christian with the race on an athletic field. And he talks about discipline. And he talks about how when an athletic competition takes place, that the athletes don't box against the air. They compete with discipline and integrity and control. And he relates that to the Christian life. And he says, when we live the Christian life, we must do so not aimlessly, but with purpose. I've been involved in athletics all of my life. And as I read this passage, I notice a lot of parallels between the athletic field, the race on the field, and the race of life. And today I want to share with you a couple of those principles that I've learned. The first one is this, that if you want to win the battle, you've got to win the battle for the mind. Paul uses words like self-control, discipline, being under control. During my days in athletics, I remember my coaches telling me that athletics was 90% mental. That's easy for them to say when you're sweating it out on the practice field and your body's hurting. But there's more than a little hyperbole in that statement. To be sure, if you want to win on the athletic field, you have to have athletic ability. But athletic ability will only take you so far if you don't think in your mind that you can do it. If I don't think I can run the race or tackle my opponent or hit the ball or whatever, I'll probably fail. Now, just because I believe I can do something doesn't mean that I can actually do it. But I'll rarely be successful if I fail to believe in what I set out to accomplish. Every single day in our walk with Christ is a battle for the mind. And the battle is greater than any game. If you lose the battle for the mind, you can lose your witness, and you very well, if you're in ministry, might lose your ministry. Paul reminds us in Philippians 4, he said, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, commendable, or excellent, think about these things. Keep your mind focused and win that battle. There's a second parallel here, and this passage really draws it out, and that is the battle won't be easy. Translated into football terminology, if you don't want to get knocked down, don't step onto the football field. Look at Paul's description of the Christian life. He talks about it's a fight. It takes discipline. When the clock runs out, you might win the game, but the game's not going to be easy. There'll be setbacks. I remember my football coaches telling me that, we've always got to be on the lookout for someone to knock down. As a linebacker, that was the guy with the ball. I was always trying to find him, but other people were trying to knock me down. Athletics isn't easy, right? And neither is ministry. Ministry is not for the faint-hearted. If you don't want to get knocked down, criticized, attacked, you're going to be disappointed. All of those things come with the calling. Name one biblical character in all of the Bible who did not suffer, who did not get knocked down in some way. You can't. And you're not going to be an exception to that. Jeremiah knew what he was getting into when the Lord told him, Jeremiah, get yourself ready. Stand and say to them whatever I command you. Don't be terrified by them. Today, I've made you a fortified city, an iron pillar, a bronze wall against the kings of Judah, against its officials, the priests of the land. And then God told Jeremiah this, they will fight against you, but I am there to deliver you, declares the Lord. Did you catch that? They will fight against you. It comes with the calling. I want you to notice the third lesson, a third parallel in this passage between the Christian race and the race on an athletic field. And that is this, that little things make big things. Paul said, don't play the game aimlessly. In other words, he was talking about there's a specific way to play the game. Focus on the little things. We don't beat the air. We pay attention to details. I'm indebted to my college football coach, Ken Sparks, who used to always say, and I can remember him saying, he used to do this, and he used to say, big things make little things. Little things rather make big things. In other words, how you play the game on Sundays can be directly proportional to how you do the little things during the week. The vast majority of our Christian life isn't spent in front of the crowds, and in ministry it's not spent in the pulpit in front of our congregation, it's spent behind the scenes. And a faithful life in private doing the little things will ultimately bear fruit in a public life in front of people. Jesus put it this way, he said, if you're dishonest with a little, you'll probably be dishonest with much. And if I can't entrust you with a little, why should I entrust you with a lot? Here's the thought that I've often taken to heart. If I focus on the depth of my walk with Christ, He'll take care of the breadth of my influence for Him. I go deep in my relationship with Jesus and let Jesus go wide with the influence he's going to have through my life. But there's one final truth I want you to see very quickly, and it's the most important truth of all, and that is this, that Jesus is the prize. You see, in athletics, we compete for a trophy, a perishable crown. But Paul said we compete for an imperishable crown. Stated another way, we compete for an audience of one. Who is among us that doesn't like recognition, to be noticed, to be thanked, to be appreciated? But we're not playing the game for the applause of men. As Max Lucado said, we're playing the game for the applause of heaven. I can remember my football coaches would always ask me, how did you do today? How did you play the game? They weren't as much concerned about my effort as they were concerned that I gave all of my effort. They weren't concerned with what I did on the field as much. Oh yeah, they were. But they were concerned that I gave my all. We need to compete for an audience of one, not to please other people. Jesus condemned the Pharisees and the religious leaders because he said in John 12, he said they love the praise of men more than the praise of God. When I arrived at summer football camp my first year, I was told to watch out for the midnight train. During the strenuous practices during August, there would be always those guys that decided along the course of all those hard practices that athletic competition in college wasn't for them. And they'd pack up their belongings in the middle of the night and they would leave. They were quick to point out before they left how great they were in high school. And many of them had great careers in high school. But somehow they just couldn't continue the race and they gave up during the intense summer heat and the competition. Success in life and in ministry is never determined by how well you begin, but rather by how well you finish. Boasting proves nothing, but a life of faithfulness proves everything. It's one thing to start well, it's another thing to finish well. Even evil King Ahab had the wisdom to affirm, "Let not the one who puts his harness on boast like the one who takes it off." In other words, don't boast about how great you are. Be faithful in the little things. Be disciplined in how you live your life, how you run the race. Let God take care of the influence that he will have through you. You go deep. Let God take your influence wide. Jeremiah said it best in Jeremiah 9:23 and 24. Here's what he said. "Let not the wise man boast of his wisdom, or the strong man boast of his strength, or the rich man boast in his riches. But let the one who boasts boast in this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord, who exercises kindness and justice and righteousness on earth." I don't rejoice in those other things, says the Lord. I rejoice in how well you know me, for that is where I take my delight.